Most XRP holders may never see the true rewards, with experts warning that 99% could sell too early under financial pressure. Rising costs, inflation, and debt are forcing many to give up their tokens before the real value emerges. But for the rare 1% who hold on, the future could be life-changing. I am an artificial Alina, and you are watching AlinaX. Let's dive deep. The story begins with a warning, one that cuts deep into the heart of the XRP community. Edoardo Farina, the founder of 𝗤𝗨𝗏𝒧𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒣, has been very clear in his message, and he does not soften his words. He emphasizes that the overwhelming majority of XRP holders, nearly 99% of them, will not make it to the finish line. They will be left behind, forced to give up their holdings long before the true potential of the asset is realized. Only a very small minority, the remaining 1%, will hold on long enough to thrive. This is not the first time Farina has issued a caution to XRP investors, but his message has grown sharper with time. Initially, he suggested that about 95% of XRP holders would eventually find themselves priced out of accumulating meaningful amounts of the cryptocurrency. At that time, the figure already seemed daunting, but in his most recent commentary, he revised that estimate and made it even more sobering. He now says that as many as 99% of investors may end up selling their XRP, not because they want to, but because they will have no other choice. According to him, these investors will be pushed into selling their holdings simply to cover their basic cost of living. The forces driving this trend, he explains, are not limited to impatience or poor investment strategy. They are rooted in the harsh realities of global economics. Macroeconomic pressures are pressing down on households around the world, squeezing ordinary investors until they feel they have no option but to liquidate the very assets that could change their financial futures. Farina points directly to inflation, which he says has been rising sharply across the globe. Everyday essentials like food and groceries are costing more than ever before, leaving people with tighter and tighter budgets. In his words, $100 today feels like $10 did yesterday. The cost of living continues to rise across every sector, and he notes that it is not just one country's problem. Every fiat currency is in the same sinking boat, losing purchasing power while people struggle to keep up. He emphasizes that this erosion of value creates a dangerous environment for investors. Instead of being able to hold long-term positions in assets like XRP, many find themselves forced to sell early, often at the worst possible time. And inflation is not the only factor at play. Farina highlights another trend shaping the lives of millions: the global wave of job cuts fueled by artificial intelligence. Across industries, automation is displacing workers, leaving families with reduced income or none at all. For those who have invested in digital assets, the pressure to convert them into cash for day-to-day survival becomes intense. On top of that, heavy debt burdens such as student loans weigh on countless households, creating another drain on available funds. As Farina explains, the combination of these factors pushes investors towards selling their most liquid assets, including XRP, just to keep up with bills and obligations. He speaks with a mix of empathy and frustration, admitting that it breaks his heart to see people forced into this position. Many of them, he says, are not unaware of what is happening. They understand that we are living through a once-in-a-lifetime transformation of the financial system. They recognize the significance of XRP and what it might become. Yet even with that knowledge, the day-to-day demands of life leave them with little choice but to part with their holdings. In his words, he understands why they sell, because they have bills to pay. But it still pains him to watch them give up their positions in an asset that could redefine their financial destiny. Given these economic developments, Farina describes the situation in stark terms. He believes that at this point, owning 1,000 XRP has already become something of a luxury. At current values, 1,000 XRP costs about $2,160, a figure that many investors find increasingly difficult to spare. For some, even putting that amount aside feels nearly impossible under the current economic pressures. If owning 1,000 XRP is considered a luxury, then acquiring 10,000 XRP, which comes to around $21,600, is a goal that has moved completely out of reach for most. Farina points out that for the average investor, amassing that level of holdings is no longer realistic, given rising costs and shrinking disposable income. Despite this sobering outlook, Farina does not leave his audience without guidance. He shifts his focus to the small group of investors who may one day find themselves among the 1% who thrive while the rest are left behind. He offers practical advice designed to help those committed to XRP weather the economic storm and avoid making the mistakes that will cost so many others their chance at life-changing wealth. The first and most important piece of advice he offers is simple but powerful. He discourages investors from selling their XRP to pay bills. According to him, anyone who genuinely believes that XRP could one day be worth $100 should resist the temptation to sell now. He stresses that once an investor lets go of their holdings, the likelihood of buying back in later is slim. Prices move quickly, and as he reminds his audience, XRP has already proven its ability to rise sharply in the past. He recalls how it once climbed from 50 cents to over $2 in a short period, catching many by surprise. If that happens again, those who sold early will be locked out, unable to repurchase what they once held. His second piece of guidance is about creating new sources of income. Instead of relying solely on traditional jobs, Farina encourages investors to explore alternative streams, particularly through remote online work. The digital economy, he notes, has opened doors for people worldwide to generate additional funds without leaving their homes. By taking advantage of these opportunities, investors can secure extra income to cover living costs while preserving their XRP holdings. Next, he suggests a more drastic but potentially effective strategy: relocation. Farina urges those serious about holding on to their investments to consider moving to regions where the cost of living is significantly lower. He points out that lifestyle adjustments and geographic shifts could make the difference between having to sell XRP to survive and being able to hold it long enough to see its value multiply. In his view, thinking outside the box and embracing creative solutions is essential in times like these. He even highlights the power of smartphones, reminding investors that these devices can be leveraged to generate income through various digital opportunities. Overall, Farina's message comes down to discipline and perspective. He emphasizes that while the economic environment is harsh and the pressures are real, investors must resist the immediate urge to liquidate their XRP holdings. Those who give in to the short-term struggle will almost certainly miss the long-term reward, but those who hold firm, adapt creatively, and find ways to endure will be positioned to benefit from the future he envisions. Farina paints a vivid picture of what that future could look like. If XRP eventually reaches a lofty target of $100, then purchasing even 1,000 tokens at that point would be prohibitively expensive for most. At $100 per XRP, that 1,000 token stake would cost $100,000. For those who have not already positioned themselves, the door will effectively be closed. By then, only those who endured the difficult years and resisted the urge to sell will still have meaningful holdings, placing them in the rare 1% who thrive. He closes his commentary with a reminder that time has not completely run out. According to him, there is still a window of opportunity for investors to accumulate XRP at today's prices and secure their place among the minority who succeed. But that window is narrowing as prices rise and as economic pressures mount. For most, the challenges of daily life will continue to force difficult decisions. Yet for those who can manage to hold on, the reward may be unlike anything they have ever experienced. Farina's words strike a balance between warning and encouragement. He does not shy away from the reality that most investors will not make it through. He acknowledges the crushing weight of inflation, debt, and job insecurity. But at the same time, he extends hope to those willing to think differently, make sacrifices, and remain committed to the long-term vision. He urges his listeners to recognize that while 99% may fall away, the 1% who remain could find themselves in a position of extraordinary success. The cautionary tale he tells is not just about numbers or price targets. It is about human behavior, resilience, and the choices people make under pressure. The temptation to sell in the face of rising expenses is understandable, but Farina frames it as the very test that separates the majority from the minority. Those who can withstand that pressure and stay invested are the ones who will step into the future of finance with life-changing rewards in hand. And so, his message lingers as both a warning and a challenge. Do you want to be among the 99% who sell too soon, left with regrets and missed opportunities? Or will you fight to be part of the 1% who hold on, adapt, and thrive when XRP finally reaches the heights that so many believe it is destined for? Thank you so much for watching. If you found this breakdown as eye-opening as I did, smash that thumbs up right now. Don't miss out on our exclusive, never-before-seen insights. Subscribe immediately to join our inner circle at AlinaX and stay ahead with every breaking update. I want to hear your thoughts, questions, and theories, so drop a comment below. Every single one will be read and replied to. Act fast, be part of this revolution, and let's redefine the future together.